In an effort to continue to gather data on salvaging, I wanted to do a test, and the test was going to be taking a look at the different categories and cost and trying to understand which of them may be better than others and how much RMC is kind of being gathered. Now, I didn't get to do as much as I'd like. I want to do obviously every ship, but it's going to take a lot of time. So maybe I grow this, and maybe the input from the community will be, yeah, continue to work this, add to this spreadsheet and do more testing. So I did do some testing to determine, hey, with each category, with each ship, we're looking at a couple variants of the ships, how much money you're going to get from each of those with RMC. Obviously, I have some data out there on how much you can potentially make with these missions, but that kind of assumes that you're able to fill your hold or cargo area with a full amount of construction RMC material. Now, I've also been talking about here, and I don't know if you guys caught that, but I found some interesting results. I wasn't able to catch a lot of it on video, and I just want to release it at this point, but I'll go over some of that as well. But I did find certain ships weren't showing any RMC, but there appears to be a bug where you can get a lot of RMC, but it doesn't seem to be consistent. I can't consistently get it to do it, but we'll take a look at some of those numbers. Anyways, per usual, this will be a spreadsheet discussion. I don't know if you guys want me to just tell you the details of the spreadsheet from now on, and I can just give you B-roll in the background, and then I can just share the spreadsheet or just show it at the end. That way we're looking at a spreadsheet the whole time, but in a lot of cases I like to show the data as much as possible and then talk about the data. So again, I'll be interested in feedback from y'all on whether you want to continue to see that, and that's more meaningful if we discuss it that way, or just discuss it and how I'd like to discuss it without kind of showing you along the way. I imagine most people want to see the data and the details instead of just me discussing it and you trying to visualize it in your mind. Anyway, so let's get into it. So I've already shared this data. This is a look at what the Vulture can make, assuming you fill it with X amount of RMC and Y amount of construction material. But again, that's assuming you have a ship or a target that can actually complete one of those two, either fill the amount of RMC or fill the amount of construction material. So here, this assumes obviously you can scrape this much RMC off of it, which for the Vulture, I mean, a Hammerhead or something could do that. But if you're meeting most ships, like a 300i or something like that, you're not going to expect to get this much RMC out of it. You're going to expect to get a smaller amount, X minus or X plus however many boxes. Well, how many boxes is that? So that's what I intended to try to look at with these numbers down here. So starting off at 1K, I'm going to zoom in as well because I've gotten that and feedback in the past. Okay, so here we're looking at the arrow, and I think the arrow only shows up. I have this twice, so I don't know if this is just because I did it before 320, at 323's release, and then at 323.1's release, or if I happen to be able to do it multiple times, I'd be able to do it one time at least in 323 before the 3.23.1, because I vaguely recall that this was an available option throughout in 323, but it seems like now I only saw that 1K one time, and I haven't seen it again. And we'll kind of get into the numbers of that, which is why that probably is the case, because who would want to take a 5K Annabelle arrow if you can take a 1K arrow? Because when I looked at the data, they're about the same. So I'm going to skip over that a bit, because this data, to me, this is testing 4 arrows. Because if you look at the data, they all kind of jive. This is 0.8 RMC versus construction material. This is just construction material. Along with that, I did decide to do it in anchor. I originally wanted to do just one, and if it got like to 0.7 or something like that, just counted as one box. But we're not. I just straight did it by the amount of decimal points that I actually ended up getting out of the material, and then I did multiply that by this flat amount, which retains the same amount that I referred to here. So this amount and potentially this amount would deviate a bit based upon demand. That appears to be the case, or I don't know what drives it, to be honest, but I would assume it should be demand. That would be my original thought, is that it should be demand that drives that number, right? So if there's less demand, it should be less that you would get out of it. So maybe it's closer to 15 if the demand's really low or demand's really high and there isn't any materials out there and they really need the material. Although it seems to be around this number. So again, I need to cover a baseline, and so there's a set of rules with these. Some of the other rules that I have set are I did scraping at 60 I think it's kilometers apart or meters. I don't know if it's 60 meters or kilometers, but it's 60. Whatever, I think it's meters. I don't know. I speak in American terms, so I know what a meter stick looks like. So I understand that's 3 feet more or less. At any rate, in game, I don't recall when it shows 60 if that means if it's kilometers or meters. I'm pretty sure it's meters. At any rate, yeah, that is the assumption on scraping. And then when I collected construction material, I did it at 45. And I did that for a number of reasons. One is because there's a number of turrets on different ships, and I just wanted to keep it straight. Sure, you should you scrape closer, probably. Um, is the scraping closer making an effect? I don't know, right? But I just wanted to set those particular parameters for this test, and that's what I went with. I think that's about it. I was pretty bad about scanning ships as well, so we'll go through this pretty quickly. But you can see how much you're intended to potentially make or lose here. Obviously, we make almost 10K off these missions. You are paying 5K. Obviously, you make a bit more though if you don't have to. You only have to pay 1K. So that's the 5K. 20K is where things start to get interesting. First of all, you can start to get cargo. I was not really good about checking that cargo, to be honest with you. Down at the bottom here, you can see like looks like scrap and look like processed food, so forth and so on. I wasn't super intended on looking at the cargo pieces. It does look like for the 50K, for example, it looks like you get at least one Quantanium. Maybe you get a gold as well, one SCU of each, which does help quite a bit. I mean, the Quantanium alone, I think, adds up to almost half of that 50K that you're paying for. So when you show up in a cargo box, you're at least going to get half of your money back, it seems like. But again, that's if you're taking the time to get all that material. Additionally, I did do this testing with a reclaimer and not the Vulture. I did that for a number of reasons. One is I wanted to go out and do a bunch of testing, and I wanted to just refuel occasionally and keep going. I originally was going to count the fuel as well, but I decided not to do that, or I decided against that. Let's zoom in a bit more here. Additionally, the reason I did that is so I had enough room in the depot slash, I usually call it the buffer, so that I can process quite a bit and just move on. A lot of these are a calculation, and that calculation is based off of like how much did I have in there before I got the scraping, like what was my start number and what was my end number in SCUs. So this is a calculation of, hey, I started off with 5.8, so I had to subtract the 8.3 that I collected. So that's what the end number is. Also, you'll find that there's some fairly significantly large numbers in here, as well as some kind of zeros. So let's kind of get through those. We'll get those towards the end, but you can see overall the what I started with, the MISC core, Reliant core, was okay on the RMC, fairly average from what you see some of these others here, and about so all of these numbers seem to generally drive minus the 100i. The 100i just appears to be trash overall, which is why at the end I barely made any money. So this one, that's just 100. If you see the 100i, I mean, avoid it like the plague. If it looks like a ship that probably shouldn't be in that weight class, it probably shouldn't be in that weight class. So the 100i it's a starter ship, for crying out loud. Why is it in the like almost, maybe maybe the thought process is it's made of like some special materials and it's super dense on materials, but I don't know, the numbers don't line up with that. So again, if it looks like it's probably gonna be a small aircraft and trash, it probably is trash. I'm not saying the aircraft is trash. I'm just saying if it looks like a bad salvage claim, it's probably a bad salvage claim. So maybe that's why we don't even need these numbers. So you just make that assumption. Looking here, the other standouts, the Prowler did pretty good. That's a bit of a bigger ship. I think that's like the bomber or something. I know it's the alien craft, but I can't remember. It had the wings and everything going on with it, so it's kind of out of its weight class here, which is nice for this particular category because you're able to make quite a bit of money. However, I started to get to the 300s, and I didn't think much of it. When I first got to the first 300, 325A, I didn't notice too much about that. I ended up putting this in here in the back end. I originally had this at 0. When it didn't come till the 350R that I noticed there was a problem. And so I originally had this at 0, and so this was a net loss. Because when you go to scrape on the 320s, 300s, whatever variant it is, it shows 0. Like it shows that you're not getting any, going to be able to scrape it at all, except for if you flip around to the back side or the bottom side. The bottom side has a missile rack or something like that, and you can get like one, you see it here, like 0.1 SCU. Like you can get like 0.2 SCUs out of it, right? It's probably 0.2 SCUs out of the thing, and it's just almost nothing. However, I did notice that when I started, I had a buffer of 1.9. Well, I ended it with 26, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a weird discrepancy." But I didn't really notice this too much until I got to this ship and noticed it a second time. And so for this one, I had a buffer of 4.2, and it instantly went to 22. So it's giving us about 18 RMC. Now that there's a spot, and I kind of showed it in the other video, like the intro. There's a spot in there on these 300 variants. I did only notice it with these two, and so I was trying to capture it, obviously, because I ended up doing, how many 300s did I do? 11, and it happened 3 times. So a quarter of the time, I was able to find this bug, if you will, but I could not reproduce it, and I definitely couldn't reproduce it on camera. So I almost caught it on this one. This is the one I actually caught, the left side. It getting the bug, and then I did it on the right side, and I got much more. So there appears to be that spot like in the back where, again, if you watch this video, there's a little spot that you can get, and it gives you a lot more SCUs. And again, that one gave me, the one you see in the intro is like 1.4 or something, 1.5. It's less than 2, I think, SCUs of recycled material. It's straight recycled material, and it's instantly, basically. And I went and got it on the other side, and I was like, well, let me try it on the other end. And that's when it gave me the 18. So it appears to give you either 18 or something like less than 2 RMC. So it's a lot. So it's a really good, amount of money. Obviously this is a very nice income to get. I don't know why this is not. Oh, no. Yeah, I guess this is right. Numbers look weird here. I think it's just because there's no decimals on this one. That's why. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the dots here. At any rate, I got a little sidetracked because this looked significantly smaller than this, but it's not. I mean, it's bigger because it just. Anyways, sorry. I was looking at the decimal. I missed the decimal points here. At any rate, you can get quite a bit of money income out of getting that bug. I had to start calculating the top here, my total runs with these, because I was getting a lot more negative, or it felt like more negatives. Because the problem with this ship is if you take it, you're either going to get a really, it's like it's going to be either awesome or terrible. And it's terrible because I tried scraping it enough to try to find that bug again. And if you don't get it, all you're going to get is construction material. And it might have a box. And that box is like, one time it looked like scrap, the other one looked like processed food. So these 300s, it's like pulling a lotto ticket. And about the quarter time for me, it was a really good lottery ticket, but most of the time it was not a good lottery ticket. So I can't like suggest that this is going to be a really good one. But, if you want to try it 4 times, spend the 80K to do it. It's going to cost you almost 100K to try to find one of these 300s that do it. And again, I found it with the A and the R, the 325A and the 350R. I tried other variants, right? Because I want to try the 300. All of them look the exact same. They just have different, there's a couple variants in there, but I just didn't have consistent luck with it. So anyways, that's something of note. It's in the data here. Maybe I'll take, eventually I would take it out if they fix that bug. Maybe it's already been hot fixed. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it after this. I just can't imagine it's been hot fixed. I think it's just, and if you look in the video, it shows like unknown or something like that over that scraping target. Usually it would tell you it's like the fuselage, or if it'll tell you the whole of the ship. So that sometimes it appears like some of them spawn with a little piece that's very small for your laser to hit. And maybe it's easier with the Vulture. Anyways, I've spent enough time on this, but at the end of the day, there's a little bit of a bug where you potentially can make quite a bit of money with these 300s. Again, it's just at your own risk because I couldn't consistently do it. And if you guys find it, great, let us know. I tried different angles as well and no such luck. So it's not something I could consistently do. Now on the 500K, I spent so much time in the 20K the last couple of days that I decided to go to the 50K. 500K, I think that's what I said a minute ago, but yeah, 50K. I decided to go to 50K, and I haven't spent as much time here as I'd like. I also tried the 400i, thinking maybe I could find that same spot, but no such luck. And actually produced the least so far in the category. I do, in the total, I didn't note this before, but in the total, I do subtract the cost of the actual. Oh, I meant this to be, I thought it was doing this column, but it's just calculated as a straight minus 50K. So this actually is plus 20,000. I was trying to do a minus to make it a plus. Plus, that's what this is here. So I'm just going to note this still kind of shows it as a negative, but this is the cleanup mission. So I just wanted to validate that the Valkyrie numbers were similar, and they were. They came out to be about the same. Also, when I was collecting the CMC or construction material, sometimes they call it CMC, but it's not CMC. When I was collecting the construction material, I tried to get it so that I could see how much it was. I would wait at that 45 right before I gathered it. I would see what number it flashed, because obviously there's variance in there. You can get, maybe it's 10% plus 10% or minus 20% on this number. This obviously construction material is going to vary based upon how close you get to the target. And the other variants in here, oddly enough, you're gonna make less than this. I know you're still kind of up ahead on this one because there's no gold or quantum that I recall. Again, I didn't scan it; wasn't the best about scanning. I just wanted to get this kind of going. But I'm pretty sure with the cleanups, I'm sure you don't get a gold or quantum associated with that one. The 400i, I think I forgot to check. Yeah, I forgot to check for cargo, but the quantum was there. So I just try to leave some notes for myself. I also noted how much income I made for the quantum and gold. So you can kind of use this as a baseline. Again, this is almost halfway to the 50K. So it's closer to a quarter than it is half, but at any rate, it's a pretty good income just to start off when you're at this particular price point. Yeah, the numbers look okay. Most of them pretty much jive except for the 400i. So again, I would just need to do more testing on these ships. Overall, I don't intend to show this spreadsheet or like share this spreadsheet, but if it's something that y'all want me to continue to build on, I can continue to build on it and add more to it and to potentially open it up to share so people can take a look at it, make it public. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for right now. I'll probably try to test a little bit more of that 300 series in the next couple days or so. I am kind of done with salvaging for at least today, or I've spent quite a minute over the weekend just on these ships alone, let alone the ones I didn't actually track. I might make a bit more money in that area, but I'm interested in doing some bounty hunting with the. I've enjoyed that Sulin quite a bit, so maybe I do a review on the Sulin. I need to start doing some ship reviews. But yeah, I'd be interested in see what other content y'all want to see me make. Thank you for those who have liked and subscribed, and appreciate the comments and everything below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.